The day is cold and dark and dreary. It rains, and the wind is never weary. The vine still clings to the moldering wall, but at every gust the dead leaves fall, and the day is dark and dreary. Be still, sad heart, and cease repining. Behind the clouds is the sun still shining. Thy fate is the common fate of all. Into each life some rain must fall. So wrote Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in his poem, The Rainy Day. As I continue my journey to Easter, I look for signs of life all around, and these velvety red branches caught my attention. They're known as staghorn sumac because the branches resemble that of antlers of a young male deer. It also symbolizes resurrection. Spring is trying so hard to resurrect to new life. The sap is starting to flow from the maple trees, and so that's a good sign. And soon these buds will burst forth with green leaves. Another great sign. But I'm impatient, and so I brought in some pussy willow branches to force them to open inside the house. I used to do this as a child. Not only the pussy willow branches, but I would bring in forsythia and watch them open up inside the house, just bringing spring indoors. It was always such a wonderful thing to watch and such a hopeful thing. But as I wait for spring to really show her beauty all around, I got to preach at the Peru Congregational Church in Peru, Vermont. And in the back is a big mural that was commissioned years ago by a gentleman who was down on his luck, and the women paid him to paint a picture of the Green Mountains. But there were more than human worshippers that day. Dogs joined the crowd and sat in the pews and sang along. It was a beautiful day of worship. Thanks be to God. But as I slowly recovered from a bad cold, I decided to take myself out for a walk, as fresh air can do so much more than medicine. And I just drank in the sun, which was warm, but the wind did have a nip to it. I was inspired when I saw this circle of logs. What a great idea. Perhaps I could do something like that on top of Sophie's Hill and invite others like you to worship with me. I continued to walk along the paths and drank in God's beauty all around and watching for signs of life. Yes, it is beginning to be mud season, and as I squished along, I saw a pile of logs that were being prepared to build a cabin. And I got so excited because that is my dream someday. And so I climbed on top of the logs, and I once again began to think what I could do, what can I create? And I realized that I needed to reach deep down inside of me to truly believe that I can do what is impossible. I can do all things through Christ, who gives me the strength. After all, my friends, we serve a God that does make all things possible. And at the end of the week, the crocus bloomed. And thank you to everyone who sent me in your favorite chicken soup recipes. I tried several of them and it did make me feel better. I also drank a lot of tea with honey. I'm still a little congested. I wish it was truly a week off to rest up, but I had to pace myself because it was a busy week as well. I had several stories that I had to file with the news service that I work for. And in addition to that, I was guest preaching at a midweek Lenten service. It is great to be back, even though I have to just warn you that the background noise that you might hear on occasion is Fritz snoring and grunting in the corner here. But you might also hear the sump pump that is constantly going. Last week was a week of heavy rains. A lot of the ground began to thaw. This old house has to make sure that the cellar doesn't flood. I was hoping that this week together I would be able to share with you signs of spring and hope. And I wanted to invite you to really reflect on where you are seeing new signs of life. We are getting closer to Easter, and this is a halfway point in our Lenten journeys in the wilderness when we can start to begin to lose patience, lose hope, and that we need a little bit of a boost. I was able to capture a lot of signs of new life that were starting to bloom here in Vermont. There were several warm days and the grass was getting greener, and I even found a crocus. There's only one crocus, I think, that is left in my yard, and it's by the old stone well. I do think the chickens, for the 3 years that I've had them, the free ranging, I think that they ate a lot of flowers. I'm gonna have to rethink how I raise chickens, not just because I have to protect them from the fox, but I'm thinking I might have to contain them a little bit on a fenced in area so that I can have more daffodils and crocuses and lily of the valley blooming without them nibbling on them. So the crocus did bloom and the sap started to really run from the maple trees, and it was just so beautiful to see all the signs of life. And then I woke up to 4 inches of snow. Yes, I'm looking outside now and everything is covered with snow. The wind is blowing again. When I woke up this morning and I saw that winter had, I'm not going to say returned because it's still winter, it's not yet spring, but winter once again reminded me that she didn't go very far. I felt my mood go down a bit. And I had to really remember that I can't allow outside influences, outside forces, things beyond my control. I can't allow these things to affect my mood. For me, I know it's true that I often allow outside influences to impact my day, to all of a sudden put a damper on my dreams. I don't want to live like that because there's just too many things that are out of our control. And so one is the weather, of course. And my challenge today is to embrace every day and open your eyes to really see the beauty that is right here and right now. And I keep looking at the snow, trying to talk to you about being positive when I'm still like, oh, what happened to the green grass? But I know that snow, especially when it's coming closer to springtime and even springtime snow, I know that that's very good for the ground. We had a snowstorm once in late April, and I was really devastated about that because I just started my garden. And somebody reminded me that such a snow is often referred to as poor man's fertilizer. So it can indeed blanket the ground and provide more warmth and help the soil for future growing. Even though I wanted to share with you the signs of spring that was all around, Mother Nature gave me a reminder that every day, no matter what it is outside, that it is a day to rejoice. Can do little things to make the best out of the day that we are given. And I think it's the same too, that whenever we find ourselves letting outside influences damper our spirits, I think we need to be more mindful of when that happens and then quickly change the narrative and then do something to turn that negative into a positive. Like I did, bringing in the pussy willows, brought them in early so that they can bloom inside the house. The other thing that I did to turn around this unexpected snow that we had and make it a positive, I had always wanted to make maple candy. Ever since I was a little girl, after I read Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House in the Big Woods, and I read the chapter all about the maple sugaring season and how they collected the sap and they boiled it and they had a big dance and everyone came to Grandma and Grandpa's house. And then later on during the maple season, Ma would collect a whole bunch of snow in a pan and then boil the maple syrup. And then you would pour the hot maple syrup into the snow and you would make candy. Now it would become very brittle or it could become more like taffy. I always wanted to try that. And a few weeks ago, when the snow all melted and the warmer days were coming and the sap was flowing, I looked around and was like, oh no, there's no snow. I can't make my maple candy. So this morning when I woke up and I saw the snow and I was not very happy about it, that's when I remembered I can now collect the snow and make maple candy. There are so many things around us in which God is saying to take notice of, to remind us that there is goodness all around. And just because sometimes things aren't the way we want them to be, we have to really look harder to see the blessing in each situation. We have to stop allowing things that are beyond our control to impact our day, our moods, because there's so much in life that we don't have control of. In fact, maybe perhaps, dare I say, that the whole idea of having control we should just let go of, because the one who really does have control and is holding us is God. Maybe the whole idea of having control is just an illusion, that we really never ever have control. So I'm going to make some maple candy with the snow that fell on the ground. I'll boil up some maple syrup and I'll give it a try. I got the pussy willows in the house so that they can start to bloom. So snow, come on, you can keep on coming. I'm going to have signs of spring all around. Until next week, God bless.